YouTube. I am here today to do the sausage book tag. This was a tag that was originally started by Josh from Literary Gladiators as part of his foodie book tag series. This is the first of his foodie book tags that I will be doing. He started them long before my own channel began, but was so gracious as to tag me in his latest foodie book tag. Yes, so if you are not subscribed to Josh, I will leave his link down below to his original video. You should go and watch his channel that he shares with some other literature aficionados, and they are a great channel, so I highly encourage you to go subscribe. Without further ado, the first question is Bratwurst, a powerful first line. And for that, I am going to go with Nadja by Breton. I am currently reading this. This is a surrealist romance, and it's seen as the sort of pinnacle of surrealist fiction. It was published in 1928, and it definitely reeks of surrealism. I was trying to learn more about surrealism, and so I thought, why not pick this up and start. Now, the first line is, "Who am I?" So it definitely starts with a bang. And then he goes off and he says, "If this once I were to rely on a proverb, then perhaps everything would amount to knowing whom I haunt. I must admit that this last word is misleading, tending to establish between certain beings and myself relations that are stranger, more inescapable, more disturbing than I intended. Such a word means much more than it says, makes me, still alive, play a ghostly part, evidently referring to what I must have ceased to be in order to be who I am. Hardly distorted in this sense, the word suggests that what I regard as the objective, more or less deliberate manifestations of my existence are merely the premises, within the limits of this existence, of an activity whose true extent is quite unknown to me." And he goes on, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but yes, this is very surrealist. So if you're interested in learning more about surrealism or about maybe the effects that Freud had on literature, I would recommend picking this up. It's not too long, but it definitely has a lot of like, what on earth is going on moments for its short size. The next sausage is Braunschweiger. I'm sorry, I don't remember how Josh pronounced it. And it's a work that you enjoy that others have complaints about. And for that, I'm going to go with the Martian by Weir. I have mentioned before on my channel that I really enjoyed The Martian. I read it this year, and I was really blown away by it. And it was one of my favorite reads this year because I view it as like this giant, incredible scientific thought experiment. But from what I can tell on BookTube, not a lot of other people enjoyed it. And because it is a very technical piece of work, it is very, and it's less about a saga of survival than it is about one man's ingenuity. So it's less it has less like literary elements than a lot of, than a lot of people on BookTube look for. Yes, let me see. And the next sausage is Frankfurter, a work from a familiar writer more people need to read. And Josh actually mentioned this in his original video, but I'm going to steal it off of him. And I would have to go with Shakespeare Sonnets. And again, which is a bit cheating because most people have read at least one of Shakespeare's sonnets, but I think that, well, I actually agree with Josh, who said that he feels that Shakespeare is a better poet than he is a playwright, and that, again, is not totally fair because he, like, watching a play is different than reading one, but he has such an exquisite way with words, and I think that he's a better poet than he is a playwright because he can just focus on his way with words and on those sort of snippets of life than he does with creating a whole play and all of plot. Yeah, so Shakespeare sonnets, I actually really adore those, and I like to pull out a book and read them from time to time because he's such a beautiful poet. Next sausage is, oh gosh, I should have written down how to pronounce these. Knackwurst, a short but meaningful work. And for this, I picked The Solitude of Self by Elizabeth Cady Stanton. This is a speech that Elizabeth Cady Stanton spoke. She was one of the original American suffragettes, and this was the speech that she spoke before Congress to implore the politicians to give women the right to vote. It is available online for free, so I highly recommend that you check it out because it is absolutely wonderful. It is amazing, and it's only about 54 pages, I believe, but it will just blow you away. And I would like to read from the speech to give you an idea, but I highly recommend you check it out. It only takes a little while to read, and it is definitely worth your while because it is it's one of the, I would say, best speeches in American history. We ask no sympathy from others in the anxiety and agony of broken friendship or shattered love. When death sunders our nearest ties, alone we sit in the shadow of our affliction. Alike, mid the greatest triumphs and darkest tragedies of life we walk alone. On the divine heights of human attainments, eulogized and worshipped as a hero or a saint, we stand alone. In ignorance, poverty, and vice, as a pamper ornamental, alone we starve as a pauper or a criminal, alone we starve or steal. Alone we suffer the sneers and rebuffs of our fellows. Alone we are hunted and hounded through dark courts and alleys, in byways and highways. Alone we stand on the judgment seat. Alone in the prison cell we will lament our crimes and misfortunes. Alone we expiate them on the gallows. In hours like these we realize the awful solitude of individual life, its pains, its penalties, its responsibilities. Hours in which the youngest and most helpless are thrown on their own resources for guidance and consolation. Seeing then that life must ever be a march and a battle, that each soldier must be equipped for his own protection, it is the height of cruelty to rob the individual of a single natural right. Yes, just stunning, and I'm sorry that I butchered it a few times along the way, but Elizabeth Cady Stanton is easily one of my favorite people in history. She also, I highly recommend that you check her out. Most of her works are available for free on the internet, and so in this speech, she is imploring Congress to realize that the false idea that women can rely upon their brothers or on their husbands for support is a lie, because when in the actuality of life, women must stand on their own 2 feet and must, this ideal of a Victorian woman reliant on her husband is false, because she must, all throughout America and all throughout the world, women are cast into poverty on their own and are triumphing alone. And so she needs to have the ability to manage her own life as an individual. Yes, absolutely stunning. Short work, but very powerful. Highly recommend that you check it out. Salami, an old work that remains relevant today. For this, I am going to go with The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Again, quite a popular work, but I have to, so this was again, if you don't know about it, is a novel about the 1920s and the themes of wealth and overindulgence and excessive richness, I would say, are quite relevant to today because this was published in the 1920s, and in a way, Fitzgerald almost predicted the Depression that was coming in the following years. So I think time-wise, we are kind of analogous to the 1920s, and the themes in The Great Gatsby are very relevant. So that's part of the reason why I love it so much, even though I don't like F. Scott Fitzgerald as a person, but I can love his work. Chorizo, a favorite from a Spanish-speaking country, or, and for this I'm going to go with Of Love and Other Demons by F. Scott Fitzgerald, obviously not by F. Scott Fitzgerald, by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is a novella of Marquez's work. Most people know him because of Love in the Time of Cholera or 100 Years of Solitude. This is one of his lesser well-known books, but I think it is absolutely beautiful. This was the first work I read by him, Of Love and Other Demons, and I was very impressed by what I read. And the fact that, too, that I was only reading the translation just makes me wonder how incredibly beautiful it must be in the original Spanish. And Marquez, again, a very popular author. Most people know him, and he won the Nobel Prize in Literature, so I don't think he needs my help in, oh gosh. I should have written down how to pronounce these sausages, because I don't remember. Adoville? I'm probably mispronouncing that. And that is a favorite from the American South. I realized that I haven't read many works by the American South, and I almost went with To Kill a Mockingbird, but in the end I realized that I had read Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. I read this a few years ago, and it is a hefty, large book, but it is quite worth the read. It is all about follows a young, wealthy woman from the South named Scarlett, and following her journeys during the Civil War and after it, and her struggles as a single woman. And she is impetuous, and she is narcissistic, but she is a very thrilling character to read about. And it is sometimes a bit of a difficult read because it is quite racist, but a lot of that has to do with because it's from the point of view of wealthy Southern people, you know, during the Civil War. So I think in that sense it's almost kind of enlightening. Yes, so Gone with the Wind. Now, by Margaret Mitchell. Next is Kielbasa, and that is a favorite work from Poland, or about Poland. And for that, I have to go with The Slave by Isaac Bashevis Singer. This is a work that takes place in Poland. It was actually the first review I ever did on my channel, so I will include the link down below if you would like to watch it. And it is about a Jewish Polish man in the 13th century who after his entire town is massacred, is taken as a slave by a Polish farmer. And it's about him struggling to reconcile his faith, and about, it's a really beautiful piece of work. Again, Isaac Bashevis Singer is a Nobel Prize winner. I highly recommend you check it out because The Slave is definitely I would say, an underappreciated work of literature. Despite winning a Nobel Prize, not many people have read it, and it is a really beautiful, exquisite read. Next is Blood Sausage, a work you're surprised that you enjoyed. And for this, I'm going to have to go with When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. I know, this is a very popular work right now. It is a nonfiction memoir of the author's life. Paul Kalanithi was a neurosurgeon who found out that he was in his, was it late 30s? Yes, who realized that he had lung cancer, and after all these years of striving to become a neurosurgeon, that he had about a year to live. And it's his memoir, and it's about struggling to understand death. it's very popular. It's made its way around BookTube, and it's a bestseller. I was expecting, so for a long time I thought, oh, I can, well, I was expecting not to like this, and I know that's difficult because maybe because most people love this and were raving about it, but I don't like doctors, and I've had bad experiences with them, particularly neurosurgeons, and I was expecting, I was expecting it to be all right, and but I was very pleasantly surprised that Paul Kalanithi is or was, I should say, because he has since been deceased. He is a beautiful writer, and he is definitely a very beautiful person as well. It's quite tragic because when you get a sense of his style, you can tell that he is an incredibly compassionate person, and yes, I almost did a book review, but I had to return the book to the library because I can only have it for 3 weeks. But the way that he connects philosophy with personal experience in the operating room about death is a very unique picture, and it's very worth your while. So I was pleasantly surprised. I wasn't expecting to love it. Now next is Pepperoni, a favorite writer that leaves an aftertaste, and for this I'm gonna have to go with John Steinbeck. I love Steinbeck, and every time I read his work, I'm left mulling over the themes of his works. I have read The Grapes of Wrath and several of his novellas, as well as I'm partially through East of Eden, and he just has a way with words and with death and with, I would say, loss and poverty that for me personally resonate with me and really stick with me for quite some time. And next is Bologna, a mass market work that you enjoyed. I'm gonna have to go with the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon. I really enjoy these. If you haven't heard, Outlander is a historical fiction series that is based on the premise that a woman in the 1940s, right after World War II, who was a combat nurse, falls back through time into 18th century Scotland, and it is very well written and very entertaining, and it's nice if you need something that's a bit lighter but is still very well written. So I would recommend Outlander. And next is hot sausage. What is your favorite sausage? I am vegan, so I do not eat animal products, but I do like veggie dogs. So yes, and next is vendor. Who do you tag? I would like to tag Now Voyaging, The Rejected Manuscript, Jeremy Sings and Reads, and the restricted section. Yes, so thank you for watching my take on the sausage book tag. I hope you enjoyed. I will leave all of the links, I will leave the names of all of the books that I mentioned down below. And again, I highly recommend you check out The Solitude of Self by Elizabeth Cady Stanton. I will leave a link to the work down below, so if you are interested, feel free, because it's free on the internet. Yes. If you would like to do this tag, please feel free, and yeah, check out Josh's channel with Literary Gladiators with several of his other counterparts. They have wonderful literary discussions. Alright, I shall see you all next time. Doei!